everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz. This is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB game schedule for Saturday, May 11th, 2024. And if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Saturday in Major League Baseball. First up, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Simeon Woods Richardson and Kevin Gausman are your starters. Simeon Woods Richardson pitching well this season. He's got that 1.74 ERA, another really good option in this Twins rotation, which is already one of the best in baseball. You add to the fact that they've got a great bullpen. This is a dangerous pitching staff. Woods Richardson's last start against the Mariners, it was 6 innings, a shutout ball, only 1 base hit, 8 strikeouts, and a 3-1 Twins win. The Twins have won all 4 of his first starts. Now, he has faced a pretty weak strength of schedule, the Tigers, the White Sox twice, and then Seattle, but the Blue Jays have not been a great lineup against right-handed pitching this year, so I think he pitches well, and like I said, that strong Twins bullpen, even if Gausman pitches well in this game, which, he's certainly trending in the right direction, back-to-back really good outings against the Dodgers and Nationals, tough lineups, 12 and a third inning combined, only 1 earned run with 13 strikeouts. Even if Gausman pitches that well, the Blue Jays bullpen has not been great this year, and I think that the Twins will find a way to win this game in the end. So I'm going to go with the Minnesota Twins in this game on the money line, getting a really good price. Next up, we see one of the more anticipated games on the board. The Chicago Cubs taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Justin Steele for Chicago and making his Major League debut, the #1 overall pick in Paul Skeens for the Pirates. There's a lot to be excited about, and for good reason. I mean, in AAA Indianapolis, Skeens was electric. 27 and a third innings, only a .99 ERA at 45 strikeouts. It's 14.8 Ks per nine, unreal numbers. Only 1 home run given up. The control was there, and I think Skeens pitches well in this game and going forward at the Major League level. But there's a reason why this game is basically a pick-em price or coin flip price, because Justin Steele's also a really good option for Chicago. He's only pitched 2 games this season, so very small sample size, but he's pitched well. He does a great job of limiting sharp contact, keeping the ball on the ground. For me, I'm more excited for this game as a fan than as a bettor. I don't see a ton of value in this particular game, and honestly, I don't love this Saturday card as a whole. I think there's not a lot of great value spots for Saturday, but in this particular game, I'm going to lean towards the under. I think we got 2 great starting pitching options. The bullpens are a little bit dicey, but the Pirates, while they've been better offensively against lefties, just in general offensively, they've not been great the last few weeks, really the last month. And the Cubs, they've been very inconsistent offensively themselves. Against right-handed pitching, they have some of the worst numbers in baseball the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to lean towards the under in this one. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Ryan Nelson and John Means are your starters. John Means was excellent in his season debut against the Cincinnati Reds. It was 7 innings, a shutout baseball, 8 strikeouts, no walks, only 3 base hits. But I got to say, that was against the Cincinnati Reds, who in the last 3 weeks are 29th in both OPS and ISO against lefties. Now you're facing the Diamondbacks, who overall this season and in the last 3 weeks are #1 in baseball in team OPS against lefties. So it's a much tougher matchup. The Diamondbacks do a great job of limiting strikeouts against lefties. I think Means could struggle. He was sharp at the end of his rehab starts in the minor leagues, but at the beginning, he was giving up a lot of base hits, a lot of sharp contact, a lot of earned runs. And I think the Diamondbacks get to him for a few runs early in this one. Ryan Nelson, he has been better on the road than at Chase Field. So for some reason, most of the starters in this Diamondbacks rotation, you look at like Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Tommy Henry, traditionally better at Chase Field, but Nelson's the opposite, and that's the case so far this season. When you look at the splits, now it's a small sample, but his 1 game on the road, it was 7 innings of 3-run ball with 7 strikeouts. That's a 3.86 ERA, and so far at home, he's got an ERA just below 6. So I'm going to go with the Arizona Diamondbacks. They're playing much better baseball right now, and I think they grab the W on the money line. Next up, we see the Atlanta Braves taking on the New York Mets. We're going to see Max Fried and Christian Scott as your starters. Christian Scott pitched well in that his Major League debut against the Rays, but now you're facing a much tougher lineup in the Atlanta Braves, and you're also facing Max Fried on the other side, a lefty. When you look at the New York Mets, their numbers against lefties have just not been great in the last 3 weeks. They're dead last on OPS and ISO. Now, they've been pretty unlucky when you look at the BABIP. It's very, very low, but still, Max Fried's one of the best lefties in baseball. Yes, he struggled in that last game against the Dodgers, but it was really just 2 mistake pitches in that one to a really good Dodgers lineup at Dodger Stadium. He still was able to go 7 innings with 7 strikeouts, and if you take away those mistake pitches, he was pretty much dominant in that game. And before that, he was dominant. His last 2 starts before that one, 15 innings of shutout baseball. So I just don't see a big margin of error here for the Mets. I think if the Braves find a few runs early, that could be it, because you got Max Fried who can go 6-7 innings, and then you hand it over to one of the better bullpens in the National League. So give me the Atlanta Braves in this one on the money line and run line. Next up, we see the New York Yankees taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Nestor Cortez and Zach Littell are your starters. Now, it's important not to put too much weight into the home and road split information for starting pitchers, at least at this point in the season, because oftentimes, like I mentioned with Ryan Nelson, very small sample size, one really good or bad start can really sway the numbers and to the point where it's not really useful or irrelevant. But in this spot, I think it's noteworthy to mention Nestor Cortez. 20 innings on the road, 28 innings at Yankee Stadium. He's got a 1.59 ERA at Yankee Stadium with a 162 opponent's batting average, super, super low number. But on the road in 20 innings, like I said, a 302 opponent's batting average, 150 points, 140 points higher, and a 6.75 ERA, just below 7. He's got a lower strikeout rate on the road, a higher walk rate by far, and he's given up more home runs on the road in fewer innings as well. So you're facing a Rays team who, as a team in general, plays a lot better at Tropicana Field than they do on the road. You got Zach Littell, who's been really sharp in terms of limiting the free passes. Only 5 walks in 39 innings and no walks his last 4 starts. He's missing bats. He's got six or more strikeouts in each of his last 4 games. And he's coming off back-to-back quality starts against the White Sox and Mets. Now, those aren't great lineups against lefties, but neither are the New York Yankees. 27th in isolated power, 21st in team OPS. And they have a high walk rate, but Littell does a good job at limiting those free passes. So for me, this is a beneficial matchup for the Rays. I'm going to go with Tampa Bay on the money line. Next up, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Miami Marlins. Taijuan Walker for Philadelphia, no official starter for Miami. I don't love the current form that Walker is in. Now, he's pitching deep into ball games, but he's given up a lot of sharp contact. 3 home runs in his first 2 games, 9 earned runs, and 13 base hits. Now, this is not a great Marlins lineup, but I still think they'll be able to get to him for a few runs. And with no official starter for Miami, we know that Marlins pitching staff has really struggled this year. The starting rotation, the bullpen. The bullpen's got an ERA just below 5. The expected numbers aren't much better. So I'm looking at the over in this game, but this is not one of my favorite games on the board, that's for sure. I'll be passing on this one, but I'll lean towards the over. Next up, we see the Washington Nationals taking on the Boston Red Sox. Jake Irvin and Cooper Criswell are your starters. Both of these starting pitchers have pitched well this year, but both have expected numbers that aren't the greatest, so I do worry about regression going forward. I honestly trust this Nationals bullpen more, especially with the Red Sox playing at Fenway Park. That bullpen at Fenway has not been the best, so I do worry about it here, and with how well the Nationals have been in terms of profitability this season, we backed them a ton, and they've done very well for us. For me, I think it's worth a shot to take the road team in this one. I'm going to take the Nationals on the money line. Next up, the Houston Astros taking on the Detroit Tigers. Christian Javier returns from the 15-day IL, and Tarek Skubal going for the Detroit Tigers. And the Astros have a great lineup against lefties, but Skubal has been one of the best lefties in baseball, 4-0 with a 1.9 ERA. His number's a little bit steeper in terms of the ERA at home, but still sub-3. And he's coming off a start against the Yankees where he went 6 innings of 2-run, 12-strikeout baseball. He's missing bats now. He wasn't good enough in that game to get the win. The Tigers lost that one in a 5-2 final score, but I think he'll be good enough here against Javier, who, I've mentioned I had the regression concerns before the injury. Now I really worry about him after that 15-day IL stint. I think that the Tigers, while they're not a great lineup, I think they'll be able to get to him. And if not, this Astros bullpen is one of the worst in the American League. So give me the Detroit Tigers on the money line. Next up, the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Chicago White Sox. Tristan McKenzie and Mike Clevenger are your starters. McKenzie's pitched well recently. I worried about him after that game against the Red Sox where the Guardians gave him a nice lead early, and he wasn't able to get out of, he only went 4 innings in that one. The numbers on paper were okay, but he was really laboring through those 4 innings. But since then, he went 7 innings, a 2-run ball against the Astros in a win, 5 innings, a 1-run ball with 6 strikeouts in a win against the Tigers. He's been a profitable pitcher recently, and the Guardians are 4-0 in his last 4 starts. And with Clevenger on the other side, I don't trust his game. I don't love this White Sox bullpen. The bottom of this White Sox lineup is really struggling. The top of the lineup with guys like Tommy Pham, we've seen the White Sox be a little bit more competitive offensively, but the bottom of the order just not getting it done. And I think the Guardians win this game and win it pretty comfortably. So I'm going to lay the 1.5 runs with Cleveland. Next up, we see the Cincinnati Reds taking on the San Francisco Giants. We're going to see Nick Lodolo and Mason Black as your starters. Now, this game and the Cardinals-Brewers game, the next one, both 7:15 Eastern. They're going to be on Fox based on your region. You'll get one of those games on national TV on Fox. But in this spot, Lodolo's pitched well. I've mentioned I'd much rather back him on the road than at Great American Ballpark, similar to a guy like Graham Ashcraft. And we saw in that last game at home against the Orioles, a really, really good lineup against lefties. Lodolo struggled. He went 5 innings, 4 earned runs, and a home run. But now Lodolo's on the road against a Giants lineup that I do not trust, and you're pitching at Oracle Park, which is one of the more pitcher-friendly ballparks in baseball, especially for a pitcher like Lodolo, who looks to keep the ball on the ground with his sinker. I think Lodolo pitches well in this game. I think it's going to be a bounce-back start for him. On the other side, Mason Black, he struggled in his Major League debut, gave up the 5 earned runs and a home run in 4 1/3 innings, but that was against the Philadelphia Phillies, who arguably in the last couple of weeks have been one of the best, if not, them and the Dodgers, best lineups in baseball against right-handed pitching. So I don't really put too much weight into that one bad start. I think he bounces back here against a Reds team that's really struggled offensively the last couple of weeks. I'm going to go with the under here in Cincinnati, San Francisco. Next up, it's the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Kyle Gibson and Freddie Peralta are your starters. Kyle Gibson's in great form right now. His last 4 games, all quality starts, 2 earned runs or fewer, good strikeout numbers. He's given up only 1 home run in the last 4 games, but the problem is with St. Louis, their offense, that's been the big issue for this team this year. The bullpen's been fine. The starting rotation's really good on paper, but the lineup continues to struggle. And then when you look at Wilson Contreras' injury, he was top 10 in baseball in OPS, and now he's going to be out for 10 weeks. It's going to be really tough to turn this thing around for the Cardinals. But in this game, I'm leaning towards the under. Freddie Peralta's pitched well this year, and he's coming off the suspension. I think he'll be fine. His last couple of games, the control's been off a bit, and that's been something that you've worried about a little bit here and there in Peralta's career. He's given up the home runs, given up the walks, but he still has great strikeout stuff. Facing a weak lineup, I think he pitches well. 2 solid bullpens. I'm going to lean towards the Brewers and the under in this one. Next up, we see the Texas Rangers taking on the Colorado Rockies. Andrew Heaney and Ryan Feltner are your starters. Andrew Heaney, while he's 0-4 with that ERA of 4.5, pretty ugly numbers on paper, I still think he's actually trending in the right direction recently. Much better starts for him. In his last game, it was 6 innings, 1 run against the A's. Before that, 7 innings, 1 run against the Nationals. Now, he's not been a very profitable pitcher. The Rangers have lost a majority of his starts this year, but here on the road against Feltner, who has not pitched well this season, he's been a little bit better at Coors Field, but still, it's a small sample. I think the Rangers get to him. This is a really strong Rangers lineup that had a little bit of a slow start to the year, but is picking it up, especially against right-handed pitching. And I think they get to Feltner and this Rockies bullpen. I think Heaney does a good enough job here for the Rangers to win this game and cover the run line. So I'm going to go with the Texas Rangers and lay the 1.5 runs. Next up, the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the San Diego Padres. James Paxton and Matt Waldron are your starters. Interesting game here because right now I am looking to fade James Paxton because when you look at the numbers, 4-0 with a 3.06 ERA, looks like he's having an excellent season, but he's only got 18 strikeouts in 32 1/3 innings. He's given up 24 walks, so more walks than strikeouts. The expected numbers are through the roof. I expect major regression for Paxton going forward. So far, he's been able to wiggle his way out of trouble, but I don't think it's going to be the case for very long. He's also given up a home run in 3 of his last 5 starts. So, San Diego, while they're struggling against lefties recently, I still think they'll be able to get to Paxton. The problem is Matt Waldron, not in great form himself, giving up 11 earned runs in 9 innings his last 2 starts. And that was against Arizona and Cincinnati. The Diamondbacks have been not great against righties. The Reds, we know, have not been great offensively in general. So now you're facing the Dodgers. You're playing at Petco Park where you're 0-3 with an ERA just below 8. For me, I'm going to go with the over. I'm going to go with the team total over for both teams and the over in the full game in this one. Next up, the Kansas City Royals taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Cole Reagans and Tyler Anderson are your starters. Now, the Royals have not been a great lineup against lefties this year, but they were able to get to Reed Detmers in the first game of the series in a big way in a blowout win. I think Cole Reagans is still one of the best pitchers in the American League, and Anderson has some regression concerns right now. An ERA below 3, but the expected number is much higher. Gave up a grand slam in that last start against the Pittsburgh Pirates in a 4-1 loss. And when you look at the game log for Anderson, the Angels have really struggled in his starts. A lot of losses, and a lot of losses by more than a run. So for me, I think Kansas City's the play here on the road. Reagan's on the road this season. 19 innings, 1 run, 24 strikeouts. That's a .47 ERA. He's in good form going into this game. He's faced a pretty tough strength of schedule. The Brewers, the Blue Jays twice, and the Orioles in the last 4 games. I'm going to go with the Royals in this game on the money line and run line. And the final game for Saturday's card in Major League Baseball, and like I said, not my favorite card of the season. I'll be treading lightly personally. It's going to be the A's and the Mariners, 9:40 Eastern on ESPN+. Alex Wood and Bryce Miller are the starters. I look for Bryce Miller to bounce back after a tough start against the Astros last time out, but it was still a Mariners win in the end. Miller has been really sharp this year, especially at T-Mobile Park. I think he pitches well against a pretty weak A's lineup against righties. Alex Wood, his numbers so far this year, not great, 5.3 ERA, but recently he's been a lot better. His last 3 games, 2 earned runs or fewer in all 3 of those starts. He faced the Yankees, Pirates, and Rangers, so a mix of weak and strong lineups in there. But the Mariners have actually been pretty solid against lefties in the last few weeks or so. I think if they find a few runs on Wood, it could be enough to win this game and cover the run line, honestly. Not my favorite game, like I mentioned, and I don't love this card, but I'm leaning towards the under and the Mariners on the run line. And that's it. Those are the games for Saturday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and put those baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.